Sahana bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavaditamastu ma viṣāvahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. True knowledge is when the knower knows oneself. To the one who knows oneself, the support of knowledge and the object of knowledge both vanish. So that is what we saw in the 13th verse. And in the 14th verse, it was said that Chideva Vidya Shunya, that the Chit consciousness alone shines. It only is the Atma. Sat is Chidātmā, pure consciousness. Now, in this verse that we are going to see today, Ramana Maharshi says, one consciousness alone appears in the form of different types of knowledge. And he gives an example, very common example that you're all familiar with. One gold appears in the form of different ornaments. One gold appears as different ornaments when it is associated with different nama rupa, names and forms. In the shape of a long string, gold is called a chain or necklace. When it is round, it is bangle, and so on. All various forms of ornaments. In all that, there is only one gold. In the same way, when consciousness is associated with any particular thought, the consciousness appears to be a particular knowledge. So this is the idea. Let us read. Let us read verse number 15. Satyaścidātmā vividhākṛtiścat. Satyaścidātmā vividhākṛtiścat. Sidhyet pṛthak satya-cito na bhinnā. Sidhyet pṛthak satya-cito na bhinnā. Bhūṣā-vikārāḥ kimu santi satyaṁ. Bhūṣā-vikārāḥ kimu santi satyaṁ. Vinā suvarṇaṁ pṛthagatra loke. Vinā suvarṇaṁ pṛthagatra loke. So, general consciousness is converted to a particular knowledge. Samanya jnanam, general consciousness, becomes vishesha jnanam, meaning specific knowledge. For example, there is a pot outside. I see the pot that enters my mind through the sense organ of the eyes, and it generates a thought. There is a mental picture of that pot in the mind, and then the thought comes, this is pot. We call that ghata vritti, pot thought. This is a specific thought, different from all other thoughts of other objects or emotions. It doesn't have to be physical object, can be other subtle feelings, emotions, all of them. Before the part thought arose, general consciousness, samanya jnanam, was there. It was there in the mind all the time. Consciousness is all pervading. It exists in the mind all the time. Even before I opened my eyes, I am a conscious being. The moment the eye is opened, the part that is sitting in front of me enters. Or any of the computer that is there in front of you, your iPad, or the mobile cell phone, whatever device that you're using, that particular object enters through the eyes, gets into your mind, and you have that particular thought. So that consciousness associated with that particular object becomes a very specific thought. Just like a goldsmith picks up the gold and gives it a shape to create a specific ornament. Similarly, the samanya jnanam, a general consciousness, becomes a particular thought. Then I say, I am now conscious of the part. I am now conscious of my laptop sitting in front of me. Okay? So part consciousness is called part knowledge. Laptop consciousness is called laptop knowledge. Now I turn my attention to elsewhere, and again there is samanya jnanam, general consciousness, and any object that comes in that becomes, let us say there is a cart. It becomes cart thought. We saw in Dakshinamurti Stotram, Nana Chitragado Dadastitamaha Deepa Prabha Bhaswaram Jnanam Yasyatu Chakshuradi Dvara Bahispandate Janami Iti. And that whatever comes in that beam of light, that Dakshinamurti Stotram, the example was, there is a little pot with 5 holes, and then a lamp is put in that, and then the beams of light go out, and any object that comes in that beam of light is illumined. In the same way, if a cart comes in that, then it's a cart thought. If it is a part, it is a part thought. Like that it goes. The same general consciousness associated with particular objects becomes particular specific knowledge. So what we understand from this process is that consciousness is called knowledge, particular knowledge, when it is associated with a particular object, and it becomes a specific thought, particular thought. That kind of plurality, the part, cart, laptop, cell phone, the mic I have in front of me, my coffee cup, my water cup, so many thoughts are there. Plurality, but that does not belong to, that kind of multiplicity, plurality does not belong to the consciousness. Every ornament is gold only, gold itself, but associated with a particular form and name, it becomes the plurality, multiplicity. All that is associated with nama rupa. Extend this general principle, Brahma Jnanam is also consciousness itself associated with the relevant thought, and that relevant appropriate thought is Aham Brahma Asmi. So we are extending this to Brahmakara Vritti also. In this thought, I do not go and catch Brahman. This Brahmakara vritti, aham brahmasmi, thought modification. It's not a blank state of mind. The mind is lively, thoughtful. Aham brahma asmi vritti sahitam. It is associated with I am Brahman thought. Therefore, Bhagavan says, consciousness appears as manifold cognition. Consciousness is one, particular knowledge are many. And that he extends to this aham brahmasmi thought also. So let us look at the verse. Cidatma satyah. There is one consciousness called Cidatma. It is satyah. It is the only reality. This Cidatma, this consciousness, vividhākṛtiścat bhavati. One consciousness itself appears as different knowledge. Vividha. Vividha akriti means vividha vrittikrita jnanati. Varieties of cognitions. Like I said, part knowledge, cart knowledge, this knowledge, that knowledge, knowledge of physics, chemistry, mathematics, economics, finance, whatever. One consciousness appears as manifold cognition. Therefore, satya-cito bhinnā pṛthak na sidhyet. These cognition can never exist separate from consciousness. All your knowledge of any specific objects, emotion, thought, any specific thought can never exist without separate from consciousness. Consciousness alone is appearing as various cognition. So without consciousness, there is no part knowledge, cart knowledge, or any knowledge for that matter. And to understand this, as I said, Ramana Maharshi gives the example of gold and various ornaments. Ornaments do not exist separate from gold. Atra loke, here in this world, bhūṣā-vikārāḥ, the various ornaments, bhūṣanam, ornaments, satyaṁ, suvarṇaṁ, vinā, without the true gold, kimu, pṛthak, santi, can they exist separately? Can all those ornaments exist separate from gold? Gold is one, ornaments are many. Similarly, consciousness is one, the cognition or experiences are many. Gold can exist without ornaments. You take the bangle and melt it, and it becomes a lump of gold. Without that shape, gold exists. Similarly, take the necklace or the ring, you can melt, and then you will get gold. Name is gone, the form is gone, but gold is there. In the same way, consciousness can exist without any cognition, without any object, without any thought. But cognition, thought cannot exist without consciousness. Gold is independently existence, but ornaments depend on the gold for their existence. Consciousness is existent independently. It is independent. It doesn't depend on anything else. But the cognition, that knowledge of particular thought, depends on consciousness for its existence. So gold is satya, ornaments are mithya. Gold is real and all ornaments are unreal or false. Similarly, consciousness is satya and all the thoughts, the cognition is mithya. without consciousness, there can be no experience of this world. Existence consciousness remains without any experience of the world. Okay? Even without experience, consciousness can exist. So what is real? That which is independent is the reality. Any experience whose experience is dependent upon something else is considered as false, unreal, illusory. Sometimes people do not like these words, false, unreal, illusory. So we say they are relatively real. People think something may not be there all the time, so they think something is there all the time, and other things are not there all the time. That is not Vedanta. The only entity that which has abiding reality, that is the only entity, real entity. That alone appears as other things. Consciousness alone is, and that is Sat. And that understanding, that vision is Saddarsanam. That is what is said in verse number 15. Now, little bit of grammar, Sanskrit grammar, or English grammar also we can use. All languages it is there. The personal pronoun I, you're all familiar with that. That represents the first person. You indicates the second person. And then there is he, she, it, that points to the third person. So I'm just introducing the English pronouns first. Slowly we will move into what Bhagwan has used from Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, that is respectively Uttama, Madhyama and Prathama Purusha. The first person is called Uttama Purusha, second person is called Madhyama Purusha, and third person is called Prathama Purusha. Don't get confused. Prathama means first, but in Sanskrit it indicates the third person. So when someone is standing right in front of you, directly seen, pratyaksha, that person is referred to as you in the second person. And in Sanskrit it is called yushmat. Yushmat pratyaya. You. If that person or thing is far away, out of sight, paroksha, the reference is in third person in English, tat pratyaya. Of course, oneself is I, the first person. It is called asmat pratyaya. Okay. So these words are used in this verse, and that is why I am introducing that. So let us read verse number 16. tadyuṣmadorasmadi-saṁpratiṣṭhā, tadyuṣmadorasmadi-saṁpratiṣṭhā, tasmin vinaṣte'smadi-mūlabodhāt, tasmin vinaṣte'smadi-mūlabodhāt, tadyuṣmadasmanmati-varjitaikā, tadyuṣmadasmanmati-varjitaikā, sidhyet-sidhyet-jvalantī, sahajātmana syāt, sidhyet-jvalantī, sahajātmana syāt. We saw the mechanism of Brahma Vidya. It is arising out of appropriate thought. It is not a thoughtless state achieved in meditation. It is a thought that has to arise through shravanam from a guru. This thought is generated through Guru Shastra Upadesha Pramanam. In this thought, I do not grasp anything new. I only drop two misconceptions. The first misconception is that I am not Brahman. I have the notion I am not infinite. I think I am a finite individual. This thought is the first misconception. This notion is ahankara, individuality. I take myself to be ahankara. Before I come to know I am Brahman. Once I look upon myself as ahankara, the first person pronoun. The first person pronoun has come and I immediately say I, taking myself to be that, and then immediately the second and third person come to play. So Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi says, tadyuṣmadoho, the third person, tat, and yuṣmad, you, thou, second person. The finite third person and finite second person arise because of asmadi saṁpratiṣṭhā. The finite first person, the ahankara comes, and then the second and third person come into play. So jnani also uses aham. That aham, I word is used. A jnani uses that word, a ajnani uses that word. When a ajnani uses that I refers to the ahankara, and when that ahankara comes into play, you, the world, everything comes into play. Jnani also uses the word aham, but that is not the finite first person. When he uses aham, aham brahmasmi is the meaning. For jnani, aham is not the finite first person. It is not ahankara, but it is that Brahman. But ajnani's aham is ahankara. So on that asmadi, on that first person, saṁpratiṣṭhā is based. The finite, yuṣmad and tat, second person, and the finite third person. This is how the triputi, the triad, I, you, and that, all that comes into play. Other hand, when jnani uses aham, I, it is not the finite first person, it is the infinite Brahman. In that infinite Brahman, there is no room for the second and third person. The second and third are swallowed in the first. Therefore, the word first person pronoun is irrelevant with respect to jnani. So what we are trying to do in Vedanta class, tasmin vinaṣte'smadi, when the infinite first person is known, through aham brahmasmi vritti, the finite first person falls. The ahankara, the jivatma, the individual is displaced. The individuality is falsified. Mūlabodhāt, meaning by the knowledge of the mūla, the root or the origin, the cause. By knowing that mūla, by knowing that origin, that cause, which is Atma, Brahma, the adhishthānam, the support of all the three. So only when you take that ahankara, then comes first and the second and third and all that. Okay? So that I, that Atma Brahman is the substratum for all the three. Jiva Jagat and Ishwara. The common substratum is that Sat Chaitanya. So if you want to put this in a technical language, we say by the knowledge of Ahampada Lakshyartha. Okay? Not the Vachyartha, not the literal I. Okay, but the indicated meaning, implied meaning, the Lakshyartha. We replace the Vachyartha, the literal meaning of I, which is the first person pronoun. We replace that with the Lakshyartha. Then what is left behind is only that. Second person and third person will go. There will not be any more of that triad. Triputi will not be there. There is only one. So Bhagavan says, tasmin vinaṣte'smadi mūlabodhāt. Asmadi mūlabodhāt, when the first person I is destroyed, falsified, understanding that it is mithya, and by seeing the adhishthānam, by seeing the substratum, when he does that, the jnani does that, then he uses the ahankara for transaction. He will say, I am thirsty, get me a glass of water. I am so tired, I want to go to sleep now. He will use that. Okay? That is all for vyavahara. Vyavaharika satyam is there. It is not paramarthika satyam. It is not the absolute truth. He knows that. He says that state of knowledge is tadyuṣmadasmanmati-varjitaikā. Eka sthiti. The state in which there is no that, thou or I. The first person, second person, third person, nothing is there. There is only one. Eka. Eka meaning akhanda, unbroken. Free from all this first, second, third person division. None of that division is there. The triad is not there. There is only one, and that is Purusha. Therefore, he says, Eka. And that Eka, he himself explains. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi explains, tadyuṣmadasmanmati. Matihi means notion. The false notion of tatmati, there is a third person. Yuṣmatihi, there is a second person. Asmatmatihi, there is a first person. This notion of all these division, varjita, free from. Here again, we should be careful. The notion of division goes away. The experience of division will continue as long as the jnani is alive. Okay? So he will refer to himself when he is talking. He will refer to himself as I. When you go to him and talk to him, he will say you. And when both of you are talking about the third person, he will say this, that, or whatever. But the intellectual conclusion that there is a division is removed. This is no different from you experience illusions. Okay? When the sunrise is there, sunset is there. Is the sun really rising and setting? Every one of us, we know. The sun is there all the time. It is the earth that is rotating, and the rotation of the earth gives you the illusion. of sun rising and the sun setting. We experience that. Okay? We do not dismiss the experience. But all of us know that the sun is not moving, it is the earth that is moving. And we use that. When the sun is out there in that sunshine, we work, act, etc. When the sun goes down, we turn on the electric light. We use all that for transaction purposes. Not a problem. In the same way, Jnani also, he will make use of the ahankara also. Okay? But all the time, he knows what his true nature is. Such is the state of knowledge for the Jnani. And it will be very natural to him. Atmanaha sagaja syāt. Absolutely very natural. Once you and I gain that knowledge and we get established in that knowledge will not be lost. It will be very natural to us. Various experiences will not alter that knowledge. Just like the example I gave you, sunrise and sunset. The experiences, once you know what the truth is, that will not change anything. You will still experience it, but the knowledge is there. That state of wisdom on the part of Jnani is sahaja. Sahajanishta, natural abidance. This is what was said in Upadeshasara also, we saw that. Bhava shunya sat, bhava sustitihi. Firm abidance. In that firm being, which is totally free from any kind of thought that you imagine, including the I thought. The content, the essence of I thought, the pure being alone shines forth. Therefore, jvalanti. It's a brilliant state. Bright, shining. So what is the implication of all this? It is the pure being which itself appears as the I thought, and with reference to I thought, there is you and there is he, she, it, that, everything is there. Everything is the absolute I only. The implication is far reaching. If I say I hate you, then what? I am hating myself. Because there's only one. If you love someone, you are loving yourself only. If you are jealous of someone, you are jealous of yourself. That eka is one without a second. Said in Gita, Atmaiva Atmana Bandhu, Atmaiva Ripuhu, Atmanaha. You are your friend, you are your enemy. There Shankaracharya says the outer enemy, the so-called external enemy, you created that enemy. You are only standing in front of you as that enemy. Where is the second person? There's no one else. If at all there is someone, that is you only. If you look at the reflection in the mirror and you say, I hate you. Who are you hating? You're hating yourself. If you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. What is that? You are loving yourself. So, the import of this verse is, this Saddarshanam is seeing that one reality in everything, everywhere. Now, Bhagavan brings up another idea. Let us spend some time talking about the concept of time. what is the essence of time? How do you measure time? The idea of time is fascinating. As we saw in Prashnopanishad, we get the notion of time because of the movement of sun and the moon, broadly as night and day of the week, and so on. Generally, the idea of time comes from something that happens externally. More and more you think, a little bit more, if you think, a little subtle, we'll find out that this time is only a concept. Although, right now, we look at external events and then get an idea of time. That is how we appreciate time. Typically, the interval between two events is called a time. But if you go a little bit subtle and think at a subtle level, the event is external and that event is experienced by us in the form of thought. So the interval between two thoughts or two experiences is time. In Sanskrit, we call this krama samvit, awareness of sequence is time. Now let us see the verse number 17. Bhūtaṁ bhaviṣyacca bhavat svakale, bhūtaṁ bhaviṣyacca bhavat svakale, tadvartamanasya vihāya tattvam, tadvartamanasya vihāya tattvam, hasyāna kim syāt gata bhaviṣyacca, hasyāna kim syāt gata bhaviṣyacca, vinaika sangyam gananeva loke, vinaika sangyam gananeva loke. So far, Bhagwan was dealing with spatial division. Here, there, and all that. In this verse, he is going to move to temporal, time-wise division. How we talk about time, we talk about the past, present, and future. That is how we divide time. In the previous verse, we were looking at the division of I am here, you a little bit removed in front, and then somebody way over there. So I, you, that, and all that. First person, second person, third person. That is spatial division. Now he is going to talk about space and time. So he is going to every aspect of it. Now this time division, he wants to establish that is also mithya. Previous verse, he established that all this spatial division, I, you, he, she, and all that, that triad itself is mithya. All of them depend on that I, that one I, one without a second, that eka. So he dispensed with all these spatial divisions. Now he is going to attack the time division. Now he says, if you start looking into this, inquiring into this time, nature of time, you will find that is also an apparent division caused by ahankara. How, in sleep, this I notion is temporarily dissolved. We don't have that identity. That ahankara is not there. Then we don't have any idea about time also. You might have slept for 8 hours. That you can only say by looking at the clock. I went to sleep at 10 o'clock. I woke up at 6 o'clock, so I slept. All that is after the fact. While you are in sleep, no concept of time. During that 8 hours, there is no identification with that ahankara. So the time-wise division is also based on ahankara. Ahankara is dependent on atma. So atma alone is the adhisthana of time also. And any of its divisions. Desha and kala, space and time do not directly rest on me, but they rest on ahankara, and ahankara rest on me. And therefore, through ahankara, I lend support. A little bit subtle, but beautiful idea. So he says the very idea of the 3 division of time is also a myth. Mithya, false. Let us analyze this. Nice analysis here. Bhagavan brings about. If you analyze past, present, and future, this past exists in your mind only, in your imagination. There is no question of a past thing existing outside. Past is a myth. Past may not exist outside now. You may say, but it existed in the past. Yesterday is not there now, but it was there yesterday. You may counter. But when yesterday existed outside as yesterday, it was not called as such. Yesterday did not exist as yesterday, but it existed as today. At that time, what did he say? Today only. Yesterday did not exist outside as yesterday. It does not exist today. So where is the question of yesterday? Yesterday is in your mind, imagination only. You only go through a series of today. What about tomorrow? Again, tomorrow does not exist outside today. If you say tomorrow will exist outside tomorrow, but when you get there, it will exist as today. So where is tomorrow? Again, it's a concept. It's an imagination. It's in your mind. Yesterday is a concept. It's a name for your memory. Tomorrow is a name for your projection, fancy, daydreaming. When you say my past is hurting me, it is not the past, because past does not exist now. It's dead and gone. How can a non-existent past now hurt you? The memory of the past is hurting you now. Memory is in the present. Memory regarding the past exists in the present. What hurts you is the memory of the past. That memory exists now in the present. Similarly, what will hurt you is not the future, but your anxiety about the future, fear about the future, thoughts about the future. All that exists now in the present. Future thought, meaning thought about the future, is a present thought. It is a thought in the present dealing with a projected event in the future. Only memories and projections are there, and other than that, there is no past or future. What is there is only the present. Therefore, Bhagavan says, bhūtaṁ, bhaviṣyacca, both past and future are bhavat, exist in their own time only. They do not exist now. They exist in their own time. Past exists in the past. Future exists in the future. They exist in their own time. And when they do, they exist not as the past or the future. They exist as present. So, swakale, in their own time, they are bhavat, present. The present and future exist as the present in their own time. That means present alone exists. Your hurt from the past is the present memory of past events, and your fear of the future is the present worry about future events. So if you want to analyze time, you don't have to analyze the past, present, and future. Since the past and future are not there, you have to analyze only the present. Now let us analyze the present. You again get into a mystery. Every present has a length of time. The present day has 24 hours. The entire 24 hours again is not the present. We have 1 hour in the present, and the remaining 23 hours are either in the past or in the future. We are coming up on 11:20 now. Okay, 11:19 past, 11:21 and later future. So the Saddarsanam class for 1 hour is the present. Even in that present hour, there is 1 present minute and 59 minutes in the past or the future. So you can see where I'm going with this. All that you have is this moment, this instant in the present. It is only a fleeting moment. Let us assume a fleeting moment is the present. What is the truth of that present? If you analyze vartamanasya tattvam, the truth of the present time, it is an apparent notion caused by ahankara. Timeless consciousness is localized as finite present because of ahankara. Later he will explain how this is caused by deha abhimana. The moment the deha abhimana comes, the present moment comes. The moment deha abhimana goes away, there is no present. If you have any doubts, just doze off right here and now in the class. That is why one can never say I am sleeping, correct? To use a verb, you have to have kala. A verb exists in the present tense or the past tense or the future tense. The moment deha abhimana goes, you can never say I am asleep. After waking up with memory, you can say I was asleep. So the truth of kalatrayam is in vartamanam, the present. The truth of the present is in ahankara, and the truth of ahankara is atma. So atma goes to ahankara, that becomes the present, and the present becomes the past and the future also. So atma appears as deshatrayam. It also appears as kalatrayam through the body. So vartamanasya tattvam is atma. So vihaya tattvam, discarding vartamana, the present, people are discussing this time from time immemorial. People are trying to understand time. What is time? But you can never understand the truth of it without tattvam, atma-jnanam. Even now, time is the greatest mystery in all philosophies, including modern science. Science has two mysteries, space and time. Everything is associated with time and space. Ramana Maharshi says, you will never understand these two without knowing their tattvam, the essence of that, which is Atma. So he says, Gata bhaviṣyacca, chacha, discussion, debate, analysis, all that Gata and Bhavi, the past and the future, is hasya, biggest joke about creation. Discussion on time and space is a big joke if conducted without inquiring into Atma. Tattvam vihaya, leaving behind Atma tattvam. If you discuss time and space, it will be an eternal mystery. Therefore, he says, hasya na kim syāt. Will it not be laughable to discuss this without the inquiry into Atma tattvam? It is eka samkhyam vinā ganaiva. So it is like trying to count things without knowing the number one. Without knowing one, where is 2, 3, and 4? So it is like that. Like that, you try to inquire into creation without inquiring into Atma. Scientists even today are baffled, loke, in this world by the mystery of creation. So time is a myth, space is a myth, Atma alone is satyam. That Atma you are, that is Saddarsanam. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.